The sun hung low in the sky as Ryan Carter tightened his grip on the invitation. The paper felt old, the ink slightly smudged, but the message was clear. An exclusive safari into the unknown, somewhere deep in the heart of the African wilderness. No contact details, just coordinates and a plane ticket. It was the kind of mystery he thrived on. The flight was uneventful at first, just endless stretches of green and gold beneath the aircraft. Then he noticed something. Shadows moving in the jungle, massive shapes shifting just beneath the canopy. He leaned closer to the window, trying to make sense of what he was seeing, but before he could process it, the pilot announced their descent. The airstrip was nothing more than a dirt path carved into the wilderness. Ryan stepped off the plane, the humid air wrapping around him like a second skin. A woman stood waiting, tall, with sharp eyes that took him in like a puzzle she was trying to solve. "Ryan Carter?" she asked. He nodded, extending a hand. "That's me. And you are?" "Elena, biologist." "You weren't given much information, were you?" "Not exactly. Just an invitation and a promise of something rare." She smirked. "Rare doesn't even begin to cover it." A man joined them, his stance relaxed but his eyes watchful. "Kazim," he introduced himself. "Tracker." Ryan followed them through dense jungle paths, the sounds of nature filling the silence between their brief conversations. He had been on many safaris before, but something about this one felt different. The jungle wasn't just alive, it was watching. They reached a clearing as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows. Kazim pointed at the ground, where massive footprints sank deep into the earth. Ryan crouched, running his fingers over the impressions. "Elephant," he guessed.
Kazim shook his head. "No."
"Something else." Ryan stood, a thrill creeping up his spine. He wasn't sure if it was excitement or fear. Whatever it was only beginning. The deeper they ventured into the jungle, the more unsettling it became. Ryan had traveled across countless landscapes, but this place had a presence, an unspoken warning woven into the air. The trees towered like silent sentinels, their gnarled roots twisting through the earth as if guarding something buried beneath. Elena walked ahead, scanning the environment with a quiet intensity. "This place isn't on any map," she said. "Not officially. What we're looking for, it's remained hidden for a reason." Ryan adjusted the strap of his camera. "And what exactly are we looking for?" Kazim answered without turning. "Proof." The word lingered in the air, but no one elaborated. The trail narrowed, forcing them to move single file. The sound of birds faded, replaced by something stranger, a rhythmic clicking, almost mechanical, yet distinctly organic. Ryan shot Elena a questioning look, but she only pressed forward. They emerged into a small clearing where massive claw marks gouged the trunks of several trees. Ryan traced one with his fingers, measuring its depth. "No known predator does this," he murmured. Kazim knelt, sifting through the damp earth. "Fresh," he muttered. "We're not alone." A branch snapped in the distance. The sound was deliberate, calculated. Ryan turned slowly, his pulse quickening. Shadows shifted between the trees, too large to be human. Elena whispered, "Keep moving. Don't run." They obeyed, every step measured. The clicking sound returned, this time closer. Ryan's grip on his camera tightened. He had the eerie sensation of being herded, funneled toward something unseen. Kazim muttered something in his native tongue, his voice barely above a breath. Ryan didn't ask for a translation. He already understood. They were being watched, and whatever was out there wasn't afraid of them. The jungle felt tighter, the air heavier. Every step forward was met with an unseen force pressing back. Ryan kept his camera steady, but his pulse hammered in his ears. Something had been following them, and now it was close. Kazim suddenly raised a hand, signaling them to stop. His eyes scanned the dense undergrowth. "It's circling us," he whispered. Elena gripped her satchel. "How big?" Kazim didn't answer. Instead, he knelt and brushed away a layer of leaves, revealing deep indentations in the soil, footprints too large to belong to any known animal. Ryan adjusted his lens, focusing on the prints. Before he could snap a shot, the ground trembled. A low, guttural growl reverberated through the trees, followed by the sound of snapping branches. Then silence. The stillness was worse than the noise. Ryan's breath hitched as he scanned the jungle. His instincts screamed that whatever had been stalking them was about to make itself known. A sudden blur of motion. The trees shook violently. Ryan barely had time to turn before something massive lunged from the shadows.
Teeth. Claws.
Eyes that gleamed with an unsettling intelligence. It was neither completely animal nor something out of prehistoric history. It was something in between. Kazim shoved Ryan aside as the creature swiped, its claws carving deep trenches into the earth where he had stood. Elena scrambled for a flare, her hands shaking. Ryan reached for his camera, desperate to document what he was seeing, but the creature roared, a deafening, primal sound that sent birds scattering into the sky. Kazim shouted something in his native tongue, his voice cutting through the chaos. The creature hesitated. Its gaze locked onto him, its massive chest rising and falling. For a brief moment, Ryan saw something flicker in its expression. Recognition?
Confusion?
But before he could process it, the jungle erupted with another roar. Louder. Deeper. Something else was coming. And it was even bigger. The second roar sent a shockwave through the jungle. Trees groaned as something massive moved beyond the thick canopy. The creature before them, already enormous, stepped back, its predatory focus shifting. It wasn't the hunter anymore. It was prey. Kazim grabbed Ryan's arm. Now we run. They didn't argue. The jungle blurred around them as they sprinted through the undergrowth, branches tearing at their skin. Behind them, the sounds of a violent struggle erupted, snarls, bone-crunching impacts, the screech of something wounded. Whatever had arrived was challenging the beast they had barely escaped. Elena gasped between breaths. We need higher ground. Kazim veered left, leading them up a steep incline. Ryan forced himself forward, lungs burning. At the top, he risked a glance back. Through the gaps in the foliage, he saw glimpses of the battle. Huge forms colliding, snapping trees like twigs. But then something stranger. The jungle wasn't just a battleground. It was reacting. The trees swayed unnaturally, vines curling as if alive, the entire ecosystem shifting in response to the presence of these ancient predators. Kazim pulled him forward. We leave now, or we don't leave at all. Ryan knew he was right, but the journalist in him protested. This was history unfolding, a discovery beyond anything he'd ever dreamed. But survival won. They pushed forward until the jungle began to thin. The sounds of the battle faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The airstrip was ahead. Safety. Civilization. Ryan hesitated. Something made him turn one last time. Deep in the trees, barely visible, a shadowed figure stood watching. It was humanoid but not human. Its gaze met his, and for a fleeting second, Ryan understood. Some things weren't meant to be found. Back in civilization, he reviewed his footage. Frame after frame of breathtaking jungle landscapes. Yet, every image of the creature's gone. Except one. A single, blurred silhouette standing among the trees. A silent watcher, waiting for the jungle to reclaim its secrets.